Starting your day off with a take on Vegas you won't get anywhere else.
Hi, I'm Holly Madison, and I listen to Brian Shapiro.
Hi, this is William Shatner, and I listen to Brian Shapiro.
Hey, this is Larry the Cable Guy, and I listen to Brian Shapiro. Why? Because I'm a good American. So is he. And if you don't listen to him, you need to pack up and leave this country.
This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
Come on, guys!
Oh, yeah. What's up, everybody? It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro. Glad you could join us on a Monday. We got a lot to get to. Fun show for you in store. If you are a gambler, if you are a poker player, you know who this guy is. His name is Matt Berkey. He is one of the biggest cash game poker players in the world, and he's going to be joining us in studio in hour number 2, so that's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to that. It's Monday, and that means not only is J.D. Sharp here, but we got Chris Wynn in the house. Chris, what's going on, my man? Thanks for being here.
I'm doing great, you guys. Fresh off the links. Got out there, got to swing the clubs a little bit.
Oh, it's not pretty.
Caddyshack-themed day, gentlemen.
Not pretty.
Go back to the 70s. Had a lot of gear going on. We were bobbing for Baby Roost on the course. And I didn't play too bad. Shap, we got a chance to play with you over at the famed Las Vegas Country Club last week, and so I got a little practice in. But it wasn't exactly a great day out there with the sticks.
I don't want to go over your round because it'll take 2 hours of the show and we won't have any listeners. But what we do have in studio today is UNLV royalty, right? Mm-hmm. It is always great when we can talk to former UNLV players, and this guy was a bigger part of the national championship than anybody. He was also happened to be the tournament MVP. That's all. The legend himself, Anderson Hunt, in studio. Anderson, I am so glad you're here with us. How you doing, my man?
Pretty good, Shep.
I'm glad you're here.
Glad to be here again.
Yes, and we have a lot to go over today, so I appreciate you being here. I want to start with this because this is a story that I've heard. I've heard rumors about it. As you know, we all want the same. We all want UNLV to succeed, and I see this picture online, and it's with the new UNLV coach, TJ Otzelberger, with Larry Johnson. And I look at this tweet that UNLV men's basketball put out, and it says, Coach Otzelberger is starting to get to know the UNLV legends. Here he is, one of the greatest Rebels ever, Larry Johnson. Congratulations on becoming a member of the Rebels. And I looked at that, and I said, wow, this is really great. You know, TJ Otzelberger is reaching out to former players. This is a great thing. And even though I didn't agree with the hire, and I think some of us in studio didn't agree with it either. I don't want to put words in your mouths, but I said, look, we got to give this guy a chance, right? And by the way, I still feel that way. We got to give this guy, TJ Otzelberger, a chance. But with that being said, Larry Johnson, underneath this tweet, he puts one word in there, and he says, no. And I said, that's a really weird tweet. What does that mean? And then I heard rumors about what happened with this picture. So I just want to get a little bit of background on what happened. What can you tell us about this situation?
From what I know, Larry didn't know who he was. So I don't know if he went up to him and introduced himself as the new head coach. But Larry, somebody had mentioned to Larry, that's the new UNLV coach.
And he didn't know that after he took the picture.
I guess not. But
okay, so here's what I heard. I heard that TJ Otzelberger shows up with a bunch of T-shirts for Larry Johnson to sign. Larry doesn't even look at them. And then TJ asked him for a picture, which Larry says yes. He's great with the fans. Takes a picture. And what I heard is TJ didn't even introduce himself as the head basketball coach. And I don't know if that's true or not, but if that is true, I don't get it. It's confusing to me. If you're the head basketball coach, don't you want to say who you are to Larry, regardless of what is in the past?
Oh, yeah, to Larry, to all the ex-players that want the university or the program to succeed.
So is that story accurate, what I just said? Is that fair to say?
Well, I wasn't there. That's what I heard. So,
yeah, that's what you heard.
Yeah, I'm not, I wasn't actually there.
Okay, I understand that. So if you, Anderson Hunt, if you're there and TJ Otzelberger takes a picture with you, doesn't say who he is, and you don't know who he is, and then he leaves, and then somebody says to you, oh, by the way, that's the UNLV head coach. Wouldn't you be scratching your head a little bit if that happened to you?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. I don't know what to say
about it, but yeah, I'm scratching my head now.
Here's what I don't like about this tweet, the UNLV men's basketball tweet. It says, Coach Otzelberger is starting to get to know these UNLV legends.
It's representing friendship.
I don't want to put words in Larry Johnson's mouth, and I know that you are very close to him, and I'm not putting you in I don't want to put you in an awkward situation, and this is awkward enough, but I'm pretty confident, you tell me, that if I went up to Larry and I said, hey, is Coach Otzelberger getting to know you, Grandmama? I'm pretty confident his answer would be no, right? To your knowledge, have they even spoken? Has TJ Otzelberger even called him?
I have no idea. I reached out to him when he first got the job, and said congratulations and good luck, and left my number. And I haven't he haven't returned my call. I know he's busy, so But after the show, he might call me.
Well, you know what, Anderson, I had
Valid
Danny
point.
I had
Very
Danny
valid.
Tarkanian sitting in that same seat last week, and Danny told me he and his brother have called UNLV. His brother has called UNLV 5 times and has not received a phone call back. Again, we all want to give TJ Otzelberger a chance, but we can all agree that Lon Kruger was phenomenal when it came to reaching out to players like yourself, Larry Johnson, Stacey Augmon, all these guys. And
He was the greatest. He was the best.
Right.
He did a better job than my brother, Dave Rice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Dave Rice was better than Marvin Menzies. I think we all could agree on that. I thought Marv was not very good when it came to reaching out to players, even though he did reach out to you. But when I hear this story, guys, and I need you guys to help me on this.
Yeah.
When I hear this story of TJ Otzelberger having Larry Johnson sign a couple things like a normal fan and taking a picture, I don't even have a problem with that. I have a bigger problem with, first of all, not saying who you are, introducing yourself as the head coach. Larry obviously had no idea who he was. And number 2, the UNLV program tweeting it out like he's reaching out to these guys and he's trying to make friends. Am I wrong in just saying that there's something not right about this story and it leaves a bad taste in your mouth? I mean, help me out here, guys.
Well, here's the deal, you guys. It's procedurally strange, right? You get the job as, for all intents and purposes, the new face of the program, right? You are the head coach of the basketball team. Right now, when you take a look at their roster, it's not like they have a player that was the face of the program. The face of the program is TJ Otzelberger, right? And what's weird about this whole thing is that you don't introduce yourself. There's no procedure where you're going up to one of the greatest players on arguably the greatest college basketball team of all time and introducing yourself as the head coach. Instead, it's more of you're kind of a fan going up and getting a photo op with him. Now, I don't have a problem with the tweet, I guess, necessarily. You guys talk about the wording at the top of the tweet, and then, of course, at the end, they talk about congratulating Larry Johnson to the college basketball, getting into the College Basketball Hall of Fame. Fine. I have no problem with it. But it just seems to me like if you're coach, if you're TJ, you would want to come at it from a different perspective. You'd want to come at it as, look, I'm trying to build something here, and I want you guys along for the ride. Right, I want you guys. I want Larry Johnson. I want Anderson Hunt. I want Greg Anthony. I want Isaiah Ryder. I want even Lou Almondson. I'm talking, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Sure.
I want players from the last 25, 30 years to be on board with this program, and I want, and just like when you think of other blue blood programs around the country and their star players over the last 3 decades or so, they're on board, and they're going to, and they have a positive opinion. And they want and like Anderson talked about at the top of the show, we want to see you succeed, and that should be the mentality. And it just seems like a strange scenario took place with the head coach, and with with the first interaction with one of the all-time greats in the program.
And don't give me this nonsense, guys, that this isn't a big deal. Why are you being negative? Let me tell you something. When you're the head coach of UNLV, and you have a chance to meet an Anderson Hunt or a Larry Johnson, there is no excuse for not introducing yourself as the head coach.
Especially like he did in the press conference when he took the job. He specifically mentioned that championship team, and he mentioned bringing a championship back. My question is, who took the picture, and how did UNLV men's basketball Twitter account get the picture, and how was it represented to them?
I have no idea. I think those are both very valid questions. I don't know the answer to that. All I do know is it sounds like, and Larry Johnson's a smart guy.
Because I feel like for them to caption it the way they captioned it, it had to have been represented like, hey, we're friends.
Right, which is obviously not the case. Larry didn't even, as Anderson said, Larry didn't even know who the guy was. You know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't know who the guy was until he was hired. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't know. Okay, I don't know who the coaches are in the Summit League. I couldn't name you one player in the league, and I couldn't name you one coach in the league. I'm sorry. I just don't follow the Summit League, just like I don't follow the Northeast Conference. I don't follow it. I don't. I could name you every coach in the Mountain West Conference. I can name you most starting lineups in that league because we cover it. But this is, this isn't the Pac-12. This isn't, again, this is the Summit. And again, all due respect to TJ Otzelberger, I believe Larry Johnson. I believe you, Anderson, and I think it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that it came about this way, and it's unfortunate that he has not returned your call. And don't give me the excuse that he's busy, and that's the nice way of putting it. I've put in 4 or 5 requests to interview TJ Otzelberger. I'm lucky to even get an email back, and the emails I do get back are that, well, he's busy. He's busy. I get it. He's recruiting. He's already got his coaching staff in place, so you can't make that excuse. He's recruiting. He's busting his butt, which I hope he is. But why would it be? Again, I know we're belaboring the fact here. Why would it be so difficult to return an Anderson Hunt phone call? Why would it be so difficult when you have... Look, he took the opportunity to show up to where Larry Johnson was. He took that time, right? It would have taken 10 seconds or maybe 20 seconds to say, hey, look, can I talk to you for a couple minutes when you're done signing? Maybe that would have been the inappropriate time to do. I understand that. This is the way I would have approached it, Anderson, and you tell me if you agree or disagree with that. I would have said, look, Larry, I understand that, there's a past that I'm not a part of, and I'm sorry that you had to deal with that stuff in the past. I want you to know what a huge fan I am of yours, which I'm sure he is. I just want 10 minutes of your time to talk to you. I want you to be a part of the program in some way, shape, or form. Can we start from scratch, just you and me? Would that have been so hard to say?
Or if having the picture, if he has Andy Grossman, the SID, who has access to Larry Johnson, reach out and say, hey, I took this picture. Here's what I want to do with it. Is that okay?
Right, correct. And Anderson, maybe you could help me on this. I understand there's a little bad blood, and I don't blame Larry for having that in the way maybe that they treated Stacey Augmon. And I say there's different people involved. The way they treated Larry Johnson, didn't even interview him for the coaching job. Nothing. And I right? Am I fair? Because I know you're close to Larry, and I don't.
Larry's one of my closest friends, and like I tell Larry all the time, you don't have no coaching experience. Why would you get mad? I can see you get mad at them not giving Stacey the interim job.
Right.
That's understandable, but
is Larry still sour grapes over that they never reached out to him for the head coaching position?
Not as much as he was a few years back.
Right.
Yeah.
He's trying to let that go.
He's trying to let it go.
But there's still bad. I think it has a lot to do with the way they treated Jerry Tarkanian, right?
Oh, yeah, that's the main reason.
That's the main reason, right? Okay. And we all know TJ had, and everyone involved there now, right, had nothing to do with that. We know that.
Exactly.
So why would it be so, I don't understand. Why wouldn't it be, Larry seems like a genuine guy. If you come up to him and you're honest, he seems like he would have had a conversation with TJ alone, right?
I don't know. Larry's a funny dude. So I can say that, but I don't know. Everybody approach things differently, but I would have common courtesy. How you doing? My name is Coach Eisenweiler. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Otzelberger.
I'm sorry, Coach.
Hey, Anderson, don't worry about it. There's a lot of people that have been tearing that name up.
I'm gonna call him Coach TJ.
I've called him Coach Henry Rowengartner before.
I've called him. Hey, on record, I called him Roethlisberger once. So
sorry about that, Coach.
That's okay.
But,
Go ahead.
Yeah, man. As far as that, I think it's the upper brass.
Right.
Probably when somebody get interviewed, they don't want Tarkanians to have nothing to do with nothing.
Which to me is utterly ridiculous.
Well, very ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, look, Danny, regardless of his political views, or we get into it politically all the time, but Danny and his family, they still care about UNLV. Just like Dave Rice cares, just like you care and Larry cares, right? I know all you guys still care about UNLV.
I love UNLV.
Okay, but it's really hard to be connected still to the program when nobody is reaching out. When nobody is reaching out to you and nobody is giving you a phone call or nobody is returning a phone call, to me, there's no excuse for that. There's no excuse for TJ not introducing himself to Larry Johnson before he takes a picture with him. To me, there's no excuse for that. That is a disconnect. That is a problem. And it is a problem that needs to be addressed. And I truly believe in my heart that if we had another guy like a Lon Kruger, who they get it, right? They get it. They reach out to you guys. They get it. Then I think that Larry would be involved with the program. I think you would be involved with the program, or I think a lot of people would be involved with the program. That is so important to getting this thing back on the right track, is you guys, the Greg Anthonys of the world, the Anderson Hunts of the world, the Larry Johnsons of the world, Stacey Augmon, and I think that is a key to not only recruiting, but it's also a key to getting people into the stands again. And I'm not talking about people in their 20s. I'm not talking about these college kids, and I'm not even necessarily talking about people that are 30. I'm talking about people that watched you guys win a national championship. There are a lot of people that watched you guys win a national championship that are not going to games right now because they feel like they are disconnected, in a sense, just like the way Larry Johnson feels like he's a little disconnected, right? I think there's a common theme there with the fans and you guys.
Yeah, and Larry, as far as his disconnection, he don't have a problem with it because he really initiated all of it, you know, as far as not dealing with UNLV, not going to the games. So,
but I saw him at a few games with Tark when Kruger was coaching.
Oh, yeah.
He was more involved back then, right?
Yeah. That goes back to what you said, Lon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you had a chance to talk to TJ Otzelberger right now, let's just make an assumption here. This might not happen. I hope it does. But let's just say he calls you right now or you know, after the show, and he returns your phone call. What would you say to him?
How you doing? Nice to meet you. I would love to, you know, sit down and talk to you. Anything you need me to do as far as recruiting in Detroit, recruiting out here, you know, I'm here.
That is a dream come true for a coach, to have somebody like you say that to him. If I'm coaching UNLV, I would take advantage of that fully. For the life of me, I don't understand it, why he hasn't returned your call. I don't get it.
It's a major asset, right, to have former players that do have connections, obviously, in the community. And when it comes to recruiting here at UNLV, we know the history, right? I mean, they're not afraid to go to the Midwest, not afraid to go to the cities there and get players. And just to kind of harper back to what Anderson talked about as far as the higher-ups, correct me if I'm wrong, both Brian and JD, but when we talked to Desiree Reed-Francois and some of the higher-ups, and they mentioned TJ Otzelberger, and they brought up his positive qualities, right, as a coach, and the reason why you hired the guy is because of situations like what took place with Larry Johnson and Coach TJ Otz. Like he's supposed to own the room, right? He's supposed to handle that correctly. He's supposed to be the guy, personality-wise, that you're gonna root for, that you're gonna want to pull for eventually. Yeah. And it was just a strange scenario to see how that took place. And he didn't own the room, right? He didn't take control of it. He was more of a young, what is he, 41 years old, 40-year-old coach that was a fan back in 1990 and not the de facto head of a program. It was very strange.
I want to address something else because we have a few UNLV fans that are in denial, one of whom is on my social media page that says, quote, "Well, I wasn't there. This is what I heard." And they're saying that you know, in a sense, that you're not credible when it comes to this story. And correct me if I'm wrong. You talk to Larry all the time. I saw you talking to him last night on the phone. You are still very close to him. Can you talk to people like that seem to think that maybe your story is not credible?
Well, like I said, I wasn't there. I'm just going by what I heard. So if he was there, whoever that is on the, whoever you're talking about, if he was there, tell him to tell his story.
Yeah, well, he wasn't.
And Brian, I would push back on that because, look, all we have to look at is Larry's reaction to the
exactly.
tweet. You said it.
Yeah.
He put one word out there.
Exactly.
And that is not something that's positive, okay, for TJ Otz. When you see, Larry Johnson put that out there.
Yeah, exactly. And Larry's the one who tweeted that out.
Yeah.
And I know you are very good friends with Larry. And I know I'm not trying to put you in an awkward situation, but if there's anybody that's credible when it comes to this story, it's you, okay? Not some fan on UNLV that doesn't want to believe you, who doesn't understand that you are very close with Larry Johnson. So this is that's absolute nonsense. Look, I have no doubt the fact of how this thing went down. He asked Larry to sign a couple autographs. Larry doesn't even really look up. And then when he asked Larry for a picture, Larry takes a picture with him. Larry has absolutely no idea who TJ Otzelberger is. And then as Otzelberger leaves, he doesn't introduce himself to Larry. He doesn't say he's the head coach of UNLV, right? And after Larry leaves, somebody goes up to Larry and says, "Oh, by the way, that was the UNLV head coach." And then all of a sudden, there's a social media explosion and the pictures all over the internet. And all of a sudden, people are making it out to be that TJ Otzelberger is reaching out to Larry Johnson and all this stuff. It is nonsense. Okay, I'm just going to say it. It is absolute and utter nonsense. That's not what went down. It is disingenuous. And what really matters is not what you put on social media. That's not going to get people to buy season tickets. What is going to matter is if TJ Otzelberger actually does what he should do and reaches out to former players like yourself. He hasn't returned your call. My understanding, he hasn't reached out to many of these former guys. This is what he has to do. Stop it with the social media stuff and nonsense.
He has to recruit as well. And right now he's got David Jenkins, who was the big transfer from South Dakota State, his former player, averaged about 20 a game.
Right.
He was in town this weekend. I'm really surprised that both those recruits, Elijah Mitru-Long and David Jenkins, also weren't with TJ Altsberger, wherever Larry Johnson was.
Right.
But he hasn't signed anybody. He signed Jonah Antonio, the 3-star kid. He got Jong back. But there's a good. I mean, he has to fight Gonzaga and Oregon for David Jenkins. That's his progress so far as a brilliant recruiter.
And by the way, I will gladly stand by this story myself. If TJ Altsberger would like to come on the show and talk about it, more than welcome. I put in several requests to ask him these questions. I will more than gladly talk to him about this and many other things. I will stand by this story.
We also have to talk about the Otzelburger that they're going to serve at the Thomas and Mack Center.
What is it going to entail?
We don't know. We have to discuss that with him.
Well, how can we discuss it if we don't know what's in it?
Well, once he's on the show, we'll discuss it with him. We'll figure it out.
I don't know. Maybe we can get a little picture of Larry Johnson on the burger, too. I'm sure Larry would be okay with that. But anyway, getting back to this, Anderson Hunt, UNLV legend, national champion, in studio, MVP, joining us. And it's always a pleasure to talk to you, a little UNLV hoops. Does it surprise you at all, the hire? I never really asked you about this on the air. When you first heard that TJ was hired as the new head coach, did you think it would be a more household name, bigger name? Were you surprised? What was your first reaction?
Well, my first reaction was they couldn't get Pitino because Pitino wants total control, and seemed like UNLV don't want the head coach to have total control. So, and then after that, I was like, where did he come from? And then everybody told me South Dakota State. And I was like, okay, well, they made the tournament before. Or they play, they play decent. But hey, this is Vegas, man, and we want a winner.
If I rewinded back to 1990 after you guys win, and I said to you, Anderson, we're going to fast forward to 2019. They've gone through several different coaches. They haven't won an NCAA tournament game since the Lon Kruger days, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. And now they hire a coach that you really didn't know who he was. Larry Johnson didn't know who he was. Would you have believed it?
Oh, no. Not right after the championship game. Not even right after we lost to Duke the next year. It's 2019. And that's where they felt that the UNLV program would be back to prominence.
What would be your biggest criticism of the reason why they are not competing not just to win Mountain West Conference championships, but NCAA tournament games and national championships? Where do you put the blame?
You can point at a couple. You can point at a few people, but my thing is we need everybody to be on the same page and and have the same agenda. It seems like it's too many Indians and no Chiefs over there. I'm just on the outside looking in. I wish I was in, part of the program, but it is what it is.
Well, I hope this interview helps. I hope TJ Altsberger reaches out to you and returns your phone call. I hope he reaches out to Larry Johnson. I know that Stacey Augmon is pretty stale with what went down here, and I understand why he would be. He wanted to be at least the interim head coach, and they gave it to Todd Simon, who I like. There's a lot of people that are upset with the way they've done things, and I understand why they're upset. I think there's a lot of people, not just players.
That was a slap in the face.
Yeah,
well, Anderson, there's a player named Mark Watts from Michigan, from Detroit, who ended up going to, I believe, Michigan State, and you had a strong relationship with his father.
Yep.
And that's a type of situation that you could possibly sway in favor of UNLV under the correct circumstances.
Oh yeah. I had Menzies had him in town. Yeah, Menzies had him in town, but didn't have his parents with him. So, I guess it was an unofficial visit, but he did come out here. But as far as, I have 4 or 5 16-year-olds that can play. That's going to be D1 players, AAU.
It'd be very intelligent for somebody on the coaching staff to get in contact with you. I think if you have an IQ over 20, you would probably do that, right? So we had Michael Avenatti on the show last week, and he brought up Brandon McCoy. And I know you're friends with Marvin Menzies, so again, I'm not trying to put you in an awkward situation, but Michael Avenatti seems to claim, well, not seems to, he did it on this show, that Brandon McCoy was paid several payments. Don't know exactly how much, but he said tens of thousands of dollars to play here at UNLV through Nike, Do you think that Marvin Menzies knew about it? Do you think that UNLV knew about it? And what do you make of this situation?
You know what? As far as playing college basketball, a lot of the head coaches don't have no clue. Honestly, they don't have no clue. So some people say, "Oh, I didn't know about it," and I believe them. But a lot of people do.
Right.
But as far as Menzies, I don't think he knew about it. You know, because if you're dealing with a company, you probably don't want the coach to know about it.
Right.
You know, anything you're doing under the table, you don't really want too many people to know about it.
What do you? Fair enough. What do you guys think about that?
There's a term that's used in politics. It's called plausible deniability, and it's used a lot with people in higher positions like the President of the United States, where you have these situations, right, where you have shoe companies like Nike or Adidas or Reebok, where these types of arrangements are made where players may be paid, right, but it's still a disconnect from the university, So we all understand that the players, there's motivation for the shoe companies for these kids to make these payments, outside of the university. Now, I understand, obviously, UNLV being a Nike school, so that could have been a lot of the motivation to steer a Brandon McCoy to UNLV, given that it's UNLV and it's, it's not exactly one of the powerhouses right now in college basketball, but still, it is what it is. He ended up coming here. But, we understand the motivation from some of these shoe companies is these players are going to be going to the NBA or playing overseas where, they're going to be high profile, and you want them under contract for the shoe company. So, Brian, to that point, I think there is ample motivation for the shoe companies to have these types of arrangements, whether it's directly with a player, with a Brandon McCoy, or with family members, right? Because I'm sure that's what it is. Family members, of course, are the ones that are also getting paid.
It would make sense for the schools to pay a premium to the shoe companies as well if in return they know and they understand that they're going to get high-end recruits out of it, which will increase revenue.
No doubt. Okay, so we got Anderson Hunt, a UNLV legend, in studio. We're going to take a quick break. To sum up this entire segment, let's just call it for what it is. TJ Otzelberger, when you meet a UNLV legend, you might want to say who you are. You might want to say you're the head coach of UNLV. It's just a tip. You can disagree with me. That's fine. Just a tip. That's all. You might want to say who you are instead of just taking a picture and getting an autograph signed. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to the Vegas Take on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDWN. All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Glad you could join us. Chris Wynn in studio, along with UNLV legend and national champion Anderson Hunt. A reminder that Matt Berkey will be joining us coming up in hour number 2. It's amazing to me, some of these same trolls on social media, the ones that were attacking me and JD for having Michael Avenatti on. Now we have some UNLV trolls that are on social media that are saying that this story's not credible. You don't know what you're talking about. I mean, these are the same idiots that wanted Lon Kruger out the door and wanted Dave Rice in. Anderson, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, bottom line is I want UNLV to succeed, whoever the coach is.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. So you put that in your emails or whatever you want to do.
Right, exactly. I mean, you wouldn't make something like this up. I know I certainly wouldn't. This is a credible story. And yes, I do think it is a big deal. We're going to move on to another side. But yes, I do think it is a big deal. And for people that don't, that's fine. I believe when you are the head coach of a university and you just were hired and you are arguably talking to, you and Larry Johnson, the two most important rebels in UNLV history that brought a national championship, I think it might be kind of important to say who you are. Why is that not a big deal?
The average troll, if you will, on the Twitter page is what, 25, 26 years old? Maybe you should educate them on exactly who Anderson Hunt is and why he's so valuable to UNLV basketball.
Yeah, it's incredible. Let me explain something to everybody. Yes, that you could have done that. You want me to do it? Okay. Anderson didn't do much. He just won a national championship. He was the MVP of the tournament. He is buddies with Larry Johnson, who also did a lot of good things for UNLV basketball last I checked. There is a reason why there is a disconnect. There is a reason why you don't see Larry Johnson at UNLV basketball games. There is a reason why Stacey Augmon is stale when it comes to UNLV basketball. There's a reason why you don't see Greg Anthony at games and all these other former players. Part of the reason, is what we've been talking about.
And if you talk about this program, it was at the mountaintop. in 1990 when he won a national championship? And where is the program right now, if you're honest out there? Doesn't matter if you're a Rebel fan or if you're someone like me for a decade who's covered the team, okay? It has not been since Lon Kruger was the head coach that this team has been to a Sweet 16, right? Mm-hmm. They have not won an NCAA tournament game since Lon Kruger was the head coach. So, okay, they've been to 2 games, I believe, with Dave Rice as the head coach. It is a state of a program that, let's be quite honest about it, okay? Before they hired T.J. Otzelberger, it was in a state of emergency, right? We're talking about bottomed out as a program. 3,000 to 4,000 fans showing up at the Thomas and Mack, one of the great venues in all of college basketball, and you have a serious issue when it comes to the image of the program.
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to open up the phone lines. You have a chance to speak to UNLV legend Anderson Hunt, and I want to get your opinions on this. Do you not think it is a big deal when the head coach does not introduce himself to Grandmama Larry Johnson, takes a picture with them, and then posts that all over social media like there's being an effort made? Do you think that's a big deal? Maybe you don't, and that's fine. If you don't, I'll hear your opinion on it. I think you're wrong, but I'll listen to you on it. And this is also an opportunity to reach out to Anderson. Give us a buzz. Here's the number. 257-5396 is the number to call. Again, 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Dave. Dave, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
If you would do your homework, you would understand that the new coach of UNLV was 3 or 4 years old when UNLV won that championship in 1980.
So
How the hell would he know who these people are?
He wasn't 3 or 4 years old.
What are you talking
Absolutely
about?
not. I believe he was in 7. He said he was in 6th or 7th. We talked to him at the press conference. I believe he was in 6th or 7th grade back in 1990.
How old is he?
You said 1980. They won the championship in 1990, by the way.
Yeah,
he was in 6th. I believe he was 6th or 7th grade. So
Dave.
Yeah, well,
But even then, he wouldn't know that.
Well,
so
come on.
Dave, you're telling
Who cares
me.
about that, though?
So Dave, let's have a conversation here.
Okay.
You're telling me that you're okay with the head coach of UNLV basketball taking the time to meet Larry Johnson. Clearly, he knows who he is, so you're wrong about that. You're telling me get his autograph and take a picture. You're okay with them tweeting it out, saying that he's reaching out to former players when T.J. Otzelberger didn't even introduce himself and say who he was. You don't have a problem with that, Dave, as a fan?
No, none whatsoever.
Okay, well, that is idiotic, Dave. I'm sorry, that's idiotic.
That's fine. You have your opinion.
Yeah. When did they win the national? When did they win the national champion? By the way, 1980. Talk about getting your facts right. You're attacking me. You don't even know when they won the damn national championship. What does that say about you? Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought. Goodbye, Dave. What a troll. These are the same idiots, Anderson, that I have to deal with on social media. What a troll you are, Dave. Is there anybody else out there that seriously thinks that this is okay?
And look, we may be beating a dead horse when it comes to this because, in the scope of things from beginning to end with TJ, it's not going to be a major issue going forward.
Yeah.
But I'll pose this question to Anderson. Anderson, 1 or 2 years from now, right? And obviously TJ Otzelberger is going to get a little bit of a rope here as a head coach. What does success mean for this program going forward? Where should they be as far as the Mountain West and as far as representation within, the NCAA tournament? Say in 2021. This program, what do you think? Where do you think they should be?
On the upside.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm giving respect to Coach TJ.
Mm-hmm.
They brought you in for a reason.
Yep.
They have faith in you. And you said you grew up a UNLV fan. So that was double kudos. So we need wins. We need Mountain West wins. We need NCAA wins. We need to compete every year.
Do you believe him when he says that? Because I do. When he says he grew up a UNLV fan, do you believe him when he says that?
I never met him, so, I have to look him in his face, shake his hand, and, it's better to meet somebody than talk on the phone.
He's been the head coach for how long? About 6 weeks?
No, more than that. I would say 2.5 months, right?
Okay. Yeah. You said the key word there. You haven't met him yet. It's been 2.5 months. It's that time.
Yeah.
Okay, it's that time, and I understand he's busy recruiting and all this other stuff. I think it's about time that he reaches out to former players.
Correct me if I'm wrong. It looks to me like this isn't to some. It's not a huge deal, but Brian's perspective is that it's just a sign that there's no progress being made. This has been happening since Lon Kruger left.
It's a good point.
Nothing is changing. Yeah. And we could have given Mike Miller, who desperately wanted the job, an interview. and we didn't, and Desiree Reed-Francois wouldn't even do that. If we had Mike Miller right now, we would have, and Jamison Welsh confirmed this last week, we'd have 2 5-star players committed as of right now.
JD, I would even tag you twice on this. I would say this: they've taken steps back, right? I mean, it's not like they have made progress or they've been slowly on the upswing. Well, they've taken steps backward in the last 3-4 years. And it's even worse because he specifically referenced this at his press conference, and then he doesn't follow through. Or he kind of follows through.
Look, here's where I am.
Or he pretends to follow through and doesn't actually follow through.
Look, here's where I am, okay? I'm already past the point of not agreeing with the hire, okay? I've made it very clear that I thought it was the wrong hire, but now that the hire has been made and there's nothing that can be done about it, I've already said, let's get behind him. But I got to be honest with you, man. It makes it really hard when I hear these stories, Anderson. Makes it really hard when he doesn't reach out to you after you've tried to reach out to him or the Tarkanian family. Makes it really hard. It makes it really, really hard when he doesn't reach out to guys like Larry, or he gets a picture with Larry Johnson, doesn't say who he is. It's laughable to me.
And then represents it as if it's a budding friendship.
And look, that's where I have the big problem.
That's sneaky.
Yeah, exactly. Sneaky.
You could even call it fraudulent.
Would you call it sneaky?
I don't know if I'd call it sneaky. I think it's just strange, And to bring up a talk that you guys had, JD and Brian, with Jamison Welsh, when you brought up the what could have been, right, with Mike Miller as the head coach here. And JD, remember what Jamison talked about and said? It said some of the guys that would be on the radar for UNLV basketball.
He didn't say radar. He said there'd be 2 kids already committed.
But you understand the road I'm going down
Absolutely.
here, and what I'm trying to, I want to look. Yep. It would be much more rosy situation right now if a guy like a Mike Miller was the choice.
And I'm more concerned with what Desiree Reed-Francois said, because she justified not giving any other interviews by saying this is the guy. He's going to do this. He's going to do this. He's going to do this, and he's not doing those things. Clearly,
well,
because there's the MVP of the national championship team sitting right next to us, who's tried to reach out to him, who has connections to not only players, not only in Las Vegas, but also players all over the country, and he's not even returning the phone call. And he's been here for almost
players.
60 days.
Let me give you an example. I played college tennis, college golf, right? When I was in college, and if we had somebody like a John McEnroe or a Novak Djokovic, whoever, that came to our practice and talked to us and gave us a speech, what have you, and gave us advice, I can tell you right now, it would have meant the world to me. I would have remembered it for the rest of my life. And I know a lot of these kids feel the same way about guys like you and Larry Johnson. It would mean the world to them if you were around the program. But why should you do it if the coach is not, and the athletic department is not reaching out to you? I mean, when Lon Kruger was coaching, everybody was around the program. It was a great vibe, man. And Lon, and that's part of the reason. Not to mention the fact that Kruger's a phenomenal coach.
And if Lon Kruger can reach
it, right?
If Lon Kruger, who is probably a Hall of Fame coach, if he can reach out, if you're good enough for Lon Kruger, why are you not good enough for TJ Otzelberger?
Yeah, exactly.
That's my question.
All right. Well,
this guy took 5 schools to the tournament.
He's phenomenal. And I am very happy. And when TJ does something good or UNLV does something good, I'm the first person to admit that. I thought hiring Kevin Kruger on his staff was a fantastic hire. Kevin is a great guy. He knows UNLV, and that was a great hire. And when I saw that picture again, and then we'll move on. When I saw that picture of him and Larry, I was really excited. I feel like I fell for it a little bit, But anyway, we've all discussed this. We belabored the point. We'll move on now. I wanted to bring up a story that is interesting, and it does have a lot to do with Las Vegas. And that is Tiger Woods. As we know, Las Vegas is a 24/7 drinking town, right? So Tiger is the partial owner of this restaurant in Jupiter, Florida, right? Apparently they overserved this guy, this 24-year-old kid. They just served him alcohol. And the family alleges that they served him too many drinks and he kills himself. I want to get to this story, but I want to get to one more caller first. Let's get to one more caller, and then I want to continue with this story. Let's go to Scott. Scott, thanks for calling in. You're on with Anderson Hunt. What's up?
Good, guys. Anderson, I have a question for you. When you were done playing at UNLV, I saw that you played at places like Turkey and Poland and France. What's it like playing over in those countries? Can you, for the average fan who has no idea, what's
culture shock?
Like?
It's a culture shock. Being a 20-year-old guy in the country by yourself, no translator. It's a culture shock.
Well, what's the basketball like? Is it more physical? I mean, did you get your shots? What was it like?
Oh yeah, I got my shots. I never met a shot I didn't like. So I got a bunch of shots up. The competition level is lower. You know, it's not the same as over here.
And then what? So would you say is the playing level the equivalent to high Division I, but not NBA level, right? Obviously.
Yeah, that's a good assumption. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Or a D2 school.
Right. Okay, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Scott.
Hey,
Thanks
thanks,
for the call, Scott.
Good questions.
And
Good
that's
questions.
interesting, isn't it, though, Anderson, how, the game has become so global now. I mean, players coming from all walks. I mean Christmas Porzingis from Latvia, right? A small city in Latvia. I mean, you can talk about across the board. I mean, the talent and the diversity and the places these guys are coming from now, it's just extraordinary, isn't it? Oh, yeah. I mean, how many different edges of the globe you're getting a lot of great players coming from.
Didn't Kristaps get into a bar fight?
He did
this weekend.
I think it was in his home city.
It was in Latvia at a nightclub.
Let me give you a perfect example. Stephon Marbury, a guy that a lot of people, coaches and players, have told me very difficult guy to get along with, wasn't very well liked. He had an unbelievable career in China. Unbelievable career. Jimmer Fredette, a guy that was not a very good, he couldn't play defense in the NBA. He was a defensive liability. Nice career over there.
He probably couldn't play defense in high school.
But there's a lot of guys though that have had good college careers. There's some good money over there in Europe now. You can make quite a bit of money playing over there, right? But I hear that the game is so physical over there, right? Is that fair to say? It's very physical.
Yeah, because the referees is taught different over there, and being from U.S. we up and down. We like to run and gun. They're a little bit slower.
I want to save this Tiger Woods story because I want to have more time to talk about it, but I do want to ask you one story that you've talked to me about off the air, which I think is unbelievable. So you were on a Celtics roster, preseason roster for a little bit, and this was back in the day when you played with Reggie Lewis and Larry Bird, two of my favorite guys, right? And you're a rookie, right? You're just coming into the league. And
free agent rookie.
Yeah. So when Larry Bird, you had some sort of financial shooting contest with Larry Bird in a practice or at the end of a practice. So when that starts, does Larry Bird approach you and say, "Hey, Rook, come on, you got some money? Let's play." Who approaches who in that scenario?
No, we was just shooting after practice, and he one of the greatest shooters, NBA history, and I thought I was one of the greatest shooters in college history. So, but going up to 10, I think he beat me like 8 to 10.
So who asked who to play for money?
Oh, Larry.
So what does he say to you? He says, "Hey, Rook, $100 or like what was the scenario?" I'm just trying to understand how that situation comes about. This Larry Bird we're talking about.
Oh, he's a lot of people didn't know. He's a shit talker. A lot of people didn't know that.
Yeah.
He's a notorious talker.
Yeah.
But to make a long story short, he was, we were shooting. And, I hit about 5 in a row. So we just started shooting. He was like, "What you want to bet?" Like, make it lighter on yourself. And he beat me. So I go in the locker room, reached into my pocket. I ain't want to give it to him. Reached into my pocket. He said, "Oh, no, don't worry about it, bro."
How much did you owe him?
Just 100.
100.
We just had one game.
And isn't that the kind of guy that Larry is, where like he's not doing it for the money, he's doing it for the competition.
Yeah, the competition, like bragging rights, all that.
He was probably, but he backed it up, obviously. But he was probably the most confident basketball player people say they've ever seen, right? Yeah. I mean, he would tell stories. People would tell stories about how, like, I remember an Xavier McDaniel story where there was like 8 seconds left to go in the game, and Celtics were down by 1. And Larry Bird tells X-Man, who was on the other team, "I'm going to get the ball right here, and I'm going to shoot it right in your face. There's nothing you can do about it." So what does Bird do? He gets the ball, shoots it in his face. There's 2 seconds left on the clock, and he says to X-Man, he goes, "Yeah, I didn't mean to have 2 seconds left on the clock." And X-Man goes, "Man, that is a bad dude." I mean, in practice, was he just as competitive in practice and scrimmages, or what was he like to play with in practice?
His back was messed up, so he didn't practice a lot. He'll shoot around, talk junk, but as far as, banging.
Without swearing, PG-13, what is a typical Larry Bird smack talk situation, even in practice? Like, do you remember a story where he said something that you've remembered to this very day, something in practice or maybe even a preseason game or something that you saw that you remember?
We was playing, I want to say in Hartford, Connecticut. And me and D. Brown was playing together. And, we was up and down. And this was one game that he played.
Yeah.
And I remember having the ball, and I'm dribbling, and I dished it to him, and he had his back turned a little bit, and then he was like, "It's like, damn, Rook, slow down." So I'm like, but that's Larry Bird,
He's telling you to slow
Yeah.
down when you're trying to make the roster. I love it.
Yeah.
And instead, you just lobbed it to D Brown. And he threw his arm over his eyes and just slammed it through. Right?
Hey
That's what
man,
happened.
no, I gave it to Bird. He scored.
Was Chris Ford coaching at that time? Or
Yeah, Chris Ford was coaching.
How was he? Uh-oh.
No, Chris was a player's coach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then he played with Boston. So
And you played with Reggie Lewis, and we only got about a minute here, and then we're going to go to break, right? You played with Reggie Lewis. What a tragedy. What a talent.
Yeah.
What a player. I heard he was, the nicest, kindest guy, great teammate. I mean, would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, and competitor.
How
6'7".
good? What kind of career would he have had? I mean, he was already on his way as an NBA All-Star, but what kind of career do you think he would have had?
NBA All-Star.
You think he would have been a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, oh yeah. Easy.
No question about NBA championships, you think?
Yeah, easy.
God, that's so tragic, man.
And
So
he was
horrible.
the 6th man on his high school team.
Gosh, it's so tragic. And when you played, this was several years before he had tragically passed away, right?
Oh, it was probably just a couple years, right? It was probably just a year or two. He passed away in, was it 94?
It was like 2 or 3 years after that.
Yeah.
God, what did you think when you had heard that horrible
whoa.
news? You must have been shocked.
I didn't know he had a
heart problem.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
God.
Yeah.
I know the whole league was shocked by it. I remember watching a game on the road a few months before he had passed away where he had collapsed. I remember that. Just a horrible, horrible tragedy.
Yeah.
But Anderson, I appreciate all those stories. I'm a big Larry Bird guy, so those stories mean a lot to me anyway.
Oh, yeah, Bird, cool.
Absolutely. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Matt Berkey, professional poker player, is going to be joining us in studio. Should be interesting. Some of the highest cash games he has played on the planet, and he's going to be joining us in studio to talk a little bit about that. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You are listening to the Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDWN.